Okay, so this is Will Hobbs' Bearstone. Alright, number one. Cloyd took a step through the door and out the hospital room. His father was in that room. Are you sure to see him in person to deliver those flowers? The nurse asked. They won't pay me unless I deliver them in person. Chloe didn't think it would work if he told her who he was. He had to run away from the UT group home in Colorado and hitched away all the way to Window Rock, Arizona to find his father. That's where the novels kept the records of everyone in the whole tribe. And there he found that yes, there was a activity, or how do you pronounce it? And his address was listed in Indian Health Service Hospital in Window Rock, and he was a patient there. Cloyd wondered how he might get into his father's hospital room to see him if he told who he was. He would be in trouble because he had to run away. Then he had an idea. He used to be the last of his money to buy some flowers. For years, Claude has been asking every Nahalo he happened to meet, if they remembered the name, activity. What does he look like? They asked Clyde. Couldn't tell them. He never knew his father. He couldn't tell them he knew his father. Grown up without him, with only his sister and his grandmother. Clay knew just two things about his father. Well, he was a Najo, and he was disappeared. After Clay was born, nobody has seen him since when Clay was little. He used to talk to his sister about how badly he wanted to find his father, but she didn't see him. You need to know him at all, so he had to keep his dream inside. In a year, he has been sent away. The most lonely became his strongest desire to grew his father. Now he was with his heart pounding, falling. Nurse was along with Holly was in his father's room. The nurse stopped support of the door and said, "Why don't you let me take the flowers in?" Chloe didn't know if this was going to work. He was a good liar. He wasn't a good liar, but he said, I supposed to deliver them myself. I never seen you here before. What did you say you're working for? He knew he had to do something quick, like rabbit in a sagebrush. Well, Chloe was into the room. Well, he saw terrified of him. This wasn't a huge man. It was more like shrewd up mummy. Attached to a bunch of tews. One went to his nose and one went to his arm. The fur came out of his under the sheet. How could this be your father? Was it asked to be in live? Where is the monster with him? Sorry. Sorry, man. Have you ever heard of the expression brain dead if it means his heart wants to work? But his brain is, well, dead. I tried to tell you, but it's not a pretty sight. You don't know anything about flowers. Clay had to keep talking or the nurse would get into him. He had to put away his terror, not show any emotion on his face. He was good at that. How did this happen? Car accident? She said, I don't know any details. How long has he been like this? 4 years. Are you sure he's Reno activity? Yes, of course. Where is he from? I think I heard that once. Utah, I think. Monument Valley. I wonder if this couldn't been the man you were looking for. Nobody had never sent flowers before. He knew it was his father. His father came from Monument Valley. Besides the Navajos, listed only on Leon activity. Clay shrugged. The people that ordered the flowers said that he has a broken leg and there are no real activity in the hospital. He sneaked on last look at his father. His terror returned full force. How could this wrinkled, shrunken shell of a human being to be his father? He forgot to wait a reply. He turned and left without looking back. No, she said after him. I'm sure there isn't. There must be some mistake. He threw the flowers in the trash. Chapter 2. Chloe wanted to go home with you to Utah. back in like Mesa, every mile took him further into Colorado. And every then Durango, he spent lonely when in the group home. He was looking out of the window of the van. Beaver in the creek along the highway. There wasn't any beaver where he came from. His house mother didn't speak, but he was glad it said it all before. How could he go home for the summer? How she had an idea to put him in the ranch and live in an old man house whose wife had died, and how much he was going to like it. What was the old man going to be like? Chloe wished he didn't have to meet his Walter Landis. Why wouldn't these people just leave him alone? Winter in the group home, but through the miserable days in school, he had to work for her to go home in the summer. Now, even by being taken away from him, they were afraid his grandmother wouldn't make him mind. That she let him disappear into the Crank Canyons again. Clay thought about good that it would be he despaired to be free. He wanted to run away again. He tried for home for White Mesa, where he was trying to find his father. He hitched all over, getting close. His housemother announced cheerfully. She pulled off the highway and bumpy dirt road. Look, here's the river. Clay, the head of the river through trees. Clay had already noticed the river has been big pines. It was so different than the high desert back home. He rolled over the window and all the way it smelled like pine cones. Water is the only place north of the highway, Susan James said. After his place is all wonders for 100 miles and more. Chloe noticed how she drove slowly and deliberately through the potholes. Sullivan, she was only short time for him, but it was before she dropped him off. Probably she was going to tell him to behave. The ranger was going to old friend of hers. There ahead was a gate. Chloe he didn't want to meet the stranger. Chloe didn't, and he hitched to Utah. He could visit his grandmother at night when nobody would know. And he would take off for the canyons. When he could find him in the canyons, would you open the gate, Chloe? Just look at the lovely orchard. He got out of the van and opened the gate. Through the orchard, he could see open miles and treads. In a barn, most heightened the time. 2 blue spruce trees in grade 2-story home. A house in somebody's house and not his. You see a small figure stepping in the perch. Susan Ames was driving through the gate and Chloe supposed it behind her. But he did it and he bolted it into trees. She called Chloe. You should come back here right now. And he ran quickly and quietly. She was changing him. Chloe darted his way in that. He hit him behind an enormous boulder. His heart was beating fast. He grinned. He knew she couldn't catch him for crying out loud. He heard him say, Clay skidded 20 or more first feet of the boulder's chopping basket, gained him another flat top and lay into his belly. He heard the drum being out around in the orchard calling her with a rose raised. Think he was long gone. She was on her way back was when she was an old man met, not very far from the boulder. Clay could hear everything he said. So he run off, and has he, Susan? The old man said, so he run off, and he hasn't even met him yet. They sound very old and very tired. Clay peeked over the edge and saw him talking. The old man's hands were in the pockets. Stripped over, purple, then stood on his skull, and most surprising thing about him is his size. He was little and taller and bigger than he is. Chloe realized, does he do that often, run away? The old man asked. Only once before, and it sure got him a whole lot of trouble. I just thought being out here and just working with you might be good for him. A chance of school to get away from a group home, whereas he just getting into so much trouble. School was a disaster for him. Oh, well, I wasn't going to school to myself. Chloe saw his house mother frown. I bet it is a lot worse than you ever did. Walter, he failed all 7 of his classes. The school says he just won't do his work. I'm sure he even knows how. He's 14. But he missed 4 years of school back in Utah. 4 years? Where was he? Out in the canyons, he heard his grandmother's goats. I think it's at least half loud. The old man grinned mischievously. Now ain't that something? Chloe liked the old man's chuckle. The rancher didn't act like over grown-ups. So she was living with his grandma. Walter asked, what about his parents? Why isn't he with him? His mother's dead when she was born. She was in UT. Nobody needs to know about his father. He was just a he's a nominal, and when he left when she died, Clay's always with his mother people, so tell me about yourself. Clay, how you been doing? Not for the Lawrence and Monty passed away and sold all the cows. I even planted a hay crop. Clay, but Clay, look at these beautiful peaches. Soon Jay said brightly, can you tell me you're not making care of his peach orchard? It's for her, Susan. For Monty, you know he lived in the peaches. Clay peered in the think, thick green foliage until now he didn't had noticed the trees about around the boulder he was been so intent or listening. He's so astonished. He never knew peach trees could be so large and full of what lush or scent or much fruit. Peaches were treasured. What unlike Mesha, he always helped his grandmother uh harvest them, and he said it was a special time, but her trees couldn't begin to compare with these. He admired the rancher was owning these trees. Just look at all these baby peaches. Susan James said, posting up branches loaded with fruit. Amazed me you can raise them here at all. I never seen peaches with all altitude, much woods and canyon. This is old care settle. Old man impinged his grain in his face again. Just what makes it interesting? Did you still have the gold mine? You always talked about it with the price going up every day. Must be getting ideas for Rancher side. Oh, I still got a pride and less. And I still believe in her as much as ever. I'm not sure as I used to be with that. I'll never get back here. Clay turned onto his back and studied cliffs high in a mountain above a river canyon, red and lights cliffs. Seeing a huge chunk and desert and bouldering of the forest reminded him of home. In a moment he realized his boulder underneath him, imperfect with a huge notch with the clefts up above. It must have been fallen long ago, leaving a ball shallow cave. He felt good about his insight. He wasn't stupid like they thought it was the 1st of June. A brilliant turquoise day, and he was out of school at last. He kind of liked the old rancher, too. I can hitchhike to you to later, he thought anytime. Starting off a rock, Clay slipped through the orchard and danced among the tall trees. Then began to climb, but he didn't know he was climbing towards the treasure. In a turning point, he wanted to only reach a piece of desert in the sky. Number 3. Chapter 3. Under the cover of the big pines, Colin climbed into the steep slope of leaves, and as he climbed, the ranch builder shrank until only sharp meadows showed. The peach orchard looked like a bright green circle with the standing center. A herd of horses appeared in the pasture of the river. He was beating on the old man and his horses. He used to have a horse once. Clay would have thought have him take back to White Mesa. He had winter. Almost a year away. Funny as his grandmother's sister, he had to live with the White Mesa or resign. Remember when he became nobody? All winter and Durango and as Clay sat into one classroom. He passed with a sleepwalker about to the next. His spirit roamed in canyons with all the flock. He put him out of his mind, out in his out of a dream. The one he used to wait for, but one had turned around into a man in a hospital bed with no rock. White Mesa has his whole world now. Finally, he stood atop the red and white sandstone cliffs. He had the same feel as the cliffs and the canyons where he used to take the goats, but he never seen a view like this one. Just a shining to the north and west, peaks still covered with coldest blue sky. He never seen mountains so sharp and rugged, so fierce and splendid. Below him, an eager sword high above the old man's field. It was a good sign. Then he remembered his grandma's parting words when he left for Colorado. She owed him something that he had never heard before. For being the Warmunichi, utensils all he lived with White Mesa, Colorado, especially mountains about Durango has been home to fish in the high mountains. She said, they know every stream, places so out of the way. Still hadn't seen him, so don't feel about the going to the Durango, she told him. Clade regarded to his distance speaks with a new strength. A fear kind of pride he never felt before. There was mountains where his people used to live. Maybe he should stay at the ranch. Maybe he could bowl with her with all the way of those peaks and stay on top of the highest one if he worked hard. There'll be a time off. Maybe the old man would want him taking it onto his horses. Tucked under a high ridge, a crop suddenly lost the sun. He should be returning to the ranch. He wondered if his house mother has driven to work. Durango with his duffel bag Halfway down a slide of the cliffs, he discovered a ledge that might lead across them. That's what he liked to do with it in the canyon country. But wedges are crossroads, he never knew what he might find. The one went into the shadowy cave. But knowing that he seen through the orchard, his high urging roof that he was indeed perfect, matching the back side of the boulder he climbed about among the peach trees. Holy Spring built to the wedge. If he was careful, he would follow it, and he was fairly before he could more than 100 feet. There was no good reason he had to get a clave, yet he would try it. The place itself was driving him on. The clave houses and used an exert to pull him on him. He imagined seeing climbs nearly as difficult as hard as this one, and ancient natural creeks and canyon walls, and handled in ancient ones. One had carved, and he stood away many times in ancient homes like nests which were unreachable without ladders, and reachable those places he felt good, standing alone in a good place. The ledge noticed to a scene, arms spread wide, fingers flailed into sandstone. Clyde started across with his face, with the wall. Careful he edged with the on the tips toes with the right foot, gingerly exploring, then choosing new floating. The left falling after until he knew he was there. With a swoon he would no longer lean into the cliff. Sharp of a rock has forced his body weight over the air, and he was in bad trouble. He stretched his light, intending to. His heels began to quiver, then to tremble. His strength deserted him to rush. He paused for rest, but his legs began to shake violently. His fingers started to go numb. He thought in panic and tried to think. He knew he'd go forward, ready to begin and rest. He'd never make it back until he could rest. The Chloe breathed deeply and summered a little into his legs. He started out again more quickly than before. Shuffling the last few steps, he, though gasping and shocking, far to the cave unless he caught his breath. Chloe looked for what he might find. It would take his mind to return across the cliff. If the cave were back in Kenyan, he thought he had half the time to it and maybe some picture writing. It was the boldest moves except for a lard. Then of a sandstone broken woos for his wall. In the ceiling, he noticed something wedged between the wall in a bananas shape that didn't look quite natural. He shimmied in the dark, narrow crack until his hands close to some kind of bundle. He backed out in the light to see what it was. He knew it was seeing into it close. He prowled with his fingers, turkey's feathers and fur. He probably wrapped it on hundreds of tiny bits of feather. Fur wrapped around cords, a eucalyptus blanket, and a whole blanket in style and Asian ones. Carefully folded blanket in back and gasped in very small in a human face, with empty eye sockets, brown skin and black hair were stunned tracked, but once he was holding in his barrel in his hands. One of the ancient one, his grandmother talked about such things. He never been in one of all his times in canyons. As her advice came to mind, behave carefully. He treated the burly one with the utmost respect and doesn't make any mistakes. The ancient ones are not people to be truthful with. And in fact, he realized buried is an imposition. Grandmother has described with the legs folded and tucked against the stomach. The best thing to do was think good intention and return into its resting place. When Cloyd would wriggle back, and with the bundle with it to the place where he found it and saw the sihui, or how do you pronounce it? Or, I don't know how to pronounce this word right here. Of a piece of pottery jar with handles in a short cinder neck. He brought it into open, he could see it, and it took its beauty and the wholeness before he found countless shards with familiar block blend designs, but never anything close to the whole pot. It was said they were worth $1,000 and broken. As he turned to the pot on its side of a mirror, something were moved inside. He went to Wu's object fall gently in his hand, and he hardly to see the small blue stone about 2 inches long, with arms moved by long handling turquoise. Civilized and smell and humped back. A bear accompanied within his long journey. His grandmother had told him about bears, but what's important about is all animals to ETs, she said, friend. A relative, a man, bring her to strap in. Look, if you gotta make a bear a personal guardian, you could be a straw man lucky in the old days. She said, when the people lived by side with the bears, they could not kill them, what they being themselves with worse bad luck. Clay turned up the smooth blue stone in his hand. He felt that mean was crossing his finest stone. He had earned this Bearstone, and good mother would understand. She was the only person who knew, who remembered the old days and believed in her power. He always wondered if there was anything to her tales. None, he was sure he was. With token, he felt like he would know it was a powerful person. His grandmother has said in the old days, people had a secret name. There was only one of over a person. A name that described who they really were not, world thought they were. Had himself had such a name for himself. By name it was no longer done. I'll take this name for myself. He thought, I ain't a stone to his hand. I don't need a father. I don't need anyone. He said aloud, my name is Lone Bear. Clay returned to the jar to an ancient one. He tried to reach its destination by now, and please, Lone Bear had a great need of his strength. Clay put a smooth stone in his pocket, and did not shake. He for sure, in his fingers, expected a powerful grip. At the cliff, he peered down the mountain in the twilight. Swallowing his decent climbing the mountains for branches as they followed him. Bear in his pocket. He wasn't afraid to oncoming darkness. In an odd sort of a way, he was looking forward to seeing but a curious old man in a ranch. Maybe his summer job wouldn't be so bad after all. Maybe he could follow the river to his high peaks. At any rate, he had a Bearstone. He could check in his pocket to make sure he was still there. Chapter 4. It was dark. Walter tried to read his latest Manning Gazette into the parlor. He couldn't concentrate for worrying. As a teenager, he might run off, but he might slip down the river, swept and cold, but appeared as drowned more. The few he went out of the side, called a boy's name, and listened. All he could hear was a river. Toward too long, he had to fallen Susan James, who was supposed to call if Clay didn't show up. Walter went inside and turned the heat down in the Marina Park shops he fixed. Since his wife died, he didn't eat regular meals. He knew what it is and that. Mostly for canned foods in the basement. Old friend who dropped by would admonish him for not keeping up strength, as he told them. He was never hungry, like the people were coming. He had to go into town and do some shopping, meals, and start thinking about his rock. He took a day's flash downstream and looked around the riverbank in my mudroom closet. Walter collected his wood coat and sat down on his bench and pulled her rubber boots. He sat knocks around his door. Come in, and he said to Willie, stepping inside about his Walter's eyes. Walter's noticed his jeans first. Wet for her knees down in the fresh mind of his sneakers, the boy had got wet only minutes before. Not in the river, but going in an irrigation ditch. Where he realized that he saw a teacher. The fish hook sharp rip across the belly, the shirt was badly soiled. The yet light enough to his darkness that Clyde's face around the deepest of a shade of brown. His limbs were rounded and fine with chunky overall. With his shoulders, Clyde's watched round face. The expression was like mouth turning corners, bloody scratch and right at his dark drawn cheek. Got some supper here, Walter said. You like pork chops? Clay shrugged. Okay, I guess. Walter put away the coat and flashlight thing, but he would not air the boy when mentioning his closer of scratches. He wouldn't have a boy tracking through the house in muddy sneakers. And he liked to leave the outside shoes here in his mudroom. He said over his shoe as he left, Floyd joining him in the kitchen in the wet socks. I put your stuff in your room, Walter said. That's upstairs. The stairs are just up the perrier. The bathroom is off the back side of the kitchen. That closed door is over there. Would you like to take a shower and change clothes or eat right away? I'm hungry, Clyde said softly. Walter caught in black eyes darting towards him. Then quickly, that'll be fine. Why, I'm hungry myself. They quietly Clyde like that, the old man wasn't all over him with his clutchings. He looked around the only old-fashioned cook stove alongside the modern one. The cook stove was much like his grandmother's, only very blue animal. Where hers was all black and rusted. You might like that kind of stove. Yeah, suddenly pointing with that stunned lips. He has finished up his food at his plate. Sure do. She'll cook on it at home, but mostly just eating in the side of the house in the winter. Can beat him up for the old stove. Say, why wouldn't you have other go around? He said, inclining the pork chops and potatoes left in his platter. Help yourself. Clay shook his head. He felt fear refusing food. No, they got a good snack for tomorrow then, but hang on. I got something special to bring up from the basement for dessert. The old man's return. Clay's neat. I looked at the happy at him. He sure was little. He was really happy about his peaches. He had a big smile on his face and cut cordial like it was a treasure, like some. Walter said with his grin. Clay said it wasn't going to refuse his time. He nodded. Enthusiastically. These peaches were so large as the store brought. He loved peaches. He allowed the old man to dish up a large shoots of vanilla ice cream with fruit. The old man dished his out with some peaches and joined him. We have peaches at home too, Cloyd said. Not as big as yours. Size don't matter. That's a pretty country. You just any canyons where you come from, all over Cloyd walks of ruins for ancient ones. Cliff dwellers like a mess of verde. Now ain't that something? Well, Cloyd was curious. He had to ask. Any ruins around here? He asked carefully. Go up the Chimney Rock Mesa, down the river a few miles, and up the other side. I mean, real close. They say they lived all wrong the river. I found a few grinning stones and whatnot, a few arrowheads, and some potsherds. Cloyd felt the stone in his pocket. He only wanted to tell, but he knew he shouldn't. It was a secret. It had to do with his secret name, so he had to look around today. Did you, Cloyd? The old man asked. Awkwardly, Cloyd wanted to know at least some of the truth. I climbed up above the cliff. He said. Walter perked up. Why? That's one of my favorite places around the farm. I used to climb up there myself. Haven't for a good while, though. How come you have called it a farm? This place is a ranch. Just a fact. It's not ranch dressing. It's a different ranch. Well, my wife came to a foreign country in Missouri. She always said a ranch was like it is a house. But a farmer was a home. Remember, a ranch is a house. So it's kind of like a house. So yeah. It's kind of like a hotel or something, but it's mostly like a house. Cloyd finished the last of the syrup of a jar. He wasn't hungry anymore. As he went to the upstairs, Cloyd noticed a picture of the old man's wife. It was top of a bookcase by the stairs. He tried to imagine the white-haired woman with the friendly smile taken into an old man. A ranch is like a house, but a farm is a home. He thought about the home, what is meant to look around his room, and unpacked his things. He stuffed a little bag and lay down on a bed with a Bearstone in his palm of his hand. It was a good place, Walter's farm. Chapter 5. Walter knocked early on Cloyd's door. Cloyd woke up at the warm house, cheerful with the smell of sausage, eggs. Walter had fired up the cook stove and cooked breakfast on it. Cloyd with an eye on the fire and shelling the giraffe off will open the warmer door with a stovepipe and brought out the sweet rolls. My grandma keep the fry bit warmer than there, Cloyd said. She raised you, didn't she? Cloyd nodded. She was beginning uncomfortable. He sounded like Walter knew about his mother, how she died and he's born. How his father had run him off. Walter wouldn't know what happened to his father. He was the only one who knew that, and he was going to tell anybody, not even his sister or his grandmother. Where does your sister live? Walter asked gently, Salter Lake. He goes to a boarding school. I haven't seen her for a long time. That's too bad. Chloe felt more uncomfortable. He didn't want any pity. He wanted to talk about something else. What are my jobs? He asked. The old man stroked as well, stubble on his chin. What he's doing overs around here in the foundation, walking out in the basement. There's a bad crack in it. I don't know about you, but summer is no time to work indoors of life thinking I'm gonna put one off. Everything by hayfields will keep me plenty of busy. You want to find out you can work on your own. I got something in mind, but you need to chew it a little longer. Let's take a look around it. I think about it as just getting bangs in myself, like getting last year. They went outside. Chloe followed Walter up the stairway inside the big red farm. The wept upstairs and huge and empty, except for a dozen or so bales of hay off in oak corners. Swallows were flying in and out of the hundreds. They were nested everywhere to baby birds. Sure feels empty, don't it? Walter remarked. It used to fall with its hay. Those they had a lot of cows. You see, I didn't hardly hit a lake last summer. How come? On account of losing my life. Hit me awful hard. Thought it didn't have anything to live for. To tell you the truth, I didn't know what to say. He pointed with his lips to his meager haystack. You don't have enough for your horses. For the winter, oh, you have some horses then. Yes, sir, it's time I baled some hay. Pretty soon the fields were foxtails. If I don't, they won't be able to worth a darn to anybody. Did you ever have any kids? Nope, never did. He said softly. We like to too, but it just never happened. There was a long silence. There was a claim regarding his question. Say, I got something I want to show you, Walter announced, and led Clay downstairs into the attack room. Everywhere Clay looked were saddles and riddles and gear, and didn't even know what to call it. It was a wealth of leather. He liked to smell it. It was always used to ride the bareback. He sang cautiously. I don't know anything about this stuff. Walter beamed. I could sure show you. If you like to ride, you could take the pick of the horses. Most are pack horses. But there was a few good saddle, the hoarding amount of them. They need riding. I can't see them to find the time. What are pack horses? Why, there are no carrying roads in the mountains where there are no roads. The mountains, Clay thought he was all set up for the mountains. He got the gear and on the horses, and maybe he would take me. He got to go to the mountains. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here for right now because I'm gonna say this is part two. So peace.